Visitors.
Nope, nobody for panelists. I just checked, so.
Do I hear a motion to accept the minutes of the July 13, 2022 meeting?
So moved.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Any discussion? There's none, all in favor? Motion carried. And communication reports, the monthly operating report for July and August 2022.
All right, so just scroll down, get it on the screen. All right, so for July, the average flow was 2.6. I think these were actually the lowest flows I've ever seen here for the whole month. I think we had 2.9 or 3 once before, but 2.6 is about it.
We had no rain, Mark.
We had nothing.
We had no rain.
Well, when people always ask, oh, we've done like 20 million, it's all infiltration. So 88% removal on nitrogen. We're 67 pounds under permit, 98.5 on BOD and 98.2 for suspended solids. And effluent phos was 2.0 for August.
So you're running about as well as you can run, right?
This is about it.
Yeah.
But actually these numbers, because the flows were so low, we didn't even add micro C for D-Night. We just used the fermentation tank. So it was just completely with what we had coming in, which wasn't much because the flow was low. We were 73 pounds under permit in August and 98% removals for BOD, TSS, and 1.5 for FOS. And the 1.5 was also without any chemical. The only chemical we've used this summer so far is whatever we had left in the tank from last year, because after 18 months, they say it doesn't have a shelf life, but it starts getting kind of coagulated. So we just used it up. So the 1.5 was under the permit just with biological FOS removal. Any questions on those? How are you?
Don't. Good, thanks. All right. So we've got the project engineer report, the current report dated July and August 2022.
So try to go through it quick because we had 2 months. Hydro pump station, we replaced the transducer. Pump 1 was sent back to flight, possible seal repair. We have like an alarm that will go off if the ohms on the actual sensor decreases. And we also cleaned the wet well and had McVac help us with that. Devonwood, we pulled both pumps. We found rags in the impellers and check valve. We haven't had any other issues, but sometimes when we get such little flows, anything that's in there gets sucked in pretty easily. We had a new voltage regulator at the Yukon pump station, Harlan Road. We had a water pump replacement on the generator. That's one of the ones that we are getting replaced, hopefully before summer, fall 23, but it's a 50-week lead time. 50, 50.
Yeah, a year.
Yep, and that was best case, it could be 60, 70 weeks. So we tried to get it in quickly because even finding the water pump for this took us about 4 weeks because they don't make them, they're from the 60s. So it's kind of the reason why we're replacing them. But we'll be fine until we get it. Maple Ridge pump station, we just added some millings to the actual driveway. We also put stone around the wet well. Corporate, we met with Kinsley. We had to replace a control board there as well. And Batterson, we had to replace a board at the transfer switch. So a lot of the guys were asking why it was like the 2 months of pump stations. I think we just had so much heat. The electronics don't like anything hot. So some of these pump stations, when the generator runs, it's probably 130 in the building. So it's kind of Murphy's Law, something's going to go. Pump station upgrades and collection systems. We jetted Crosswoods, Corporate Park, Highwood Road, Knollwood, Northwoods, and Pinewood Drive. We also assisted highway and jetting storm drains on Church Street, Carrington, Copper Beach, Elizabeth, Hart, Hotchkiss, and Talcott. The manholes were completed for the same roads. Paving was completed early in August. We continued to camera and look for problem areas. We cambered 15 4th Street in Unionville and 301 New Britain Avenue. That's, I think, the Knights of Columbus. Continued to clear right-of-ways and work with highway cleaning storm drains and more problem areas. Repairs and maintenance at the plant. We calibrated inflow and effluent flow meters. We have to do it once a year for the permit. Met with Kinsley to check the aeration blower amps. We had one blower that was down about 12-15% on amps. It was within spec. It's kind of like the compression on a motor, but we just wanted to check it because they're the biggest piece of equipment we have. We installed a new gearbox for the transfer pump. Basically gives us more torque on startup, so that eliminated any of the issues that we had when they were tripping out on high pressure. The new Borger pump in the primary basement also was put in. We're working on finishing that VFD as well. I had a picture of that. That's it going in. And then you can kind of see the size difference between the two pumps. It's not just because this one's closer. This is actually 20 horse. These were 5. And the interesting part was when we ran the calcs, we were getting 15 to 17 horsepower. The companies were getting about the same to run 20. So they all came in higher than the ones we had, which is probably why we had the torque issues on startup. So that one's in. And then this VFD is the one that we put in. You can see these were the old ones. This is the new one. And we're just working on the primary one for the Borger pump now. We're tracking more VFAs for the biological phos. I kind of touched on that in the summary report. So we got to 1.5 milligrams liter phos without any chemical. It's working pretty well, so we're just going to keep tracking them. We also dropped the aeration tank 3, cleaned all the diffusers and brackets. Right now it's just filled with effluent water, and we're going to leave it offline until probably October, November. We'll put it back on. We put up the old sign in front of the plant. I'm sure you guys saw it. Just made a small island with it. They had originally put the sign by the UV building, which is still up, but that tree got so big you can't see it in the summer. So we figured we just put the other sign up also. And then the transducer in the blend tank was also replaced. And then the other pictures were just of the aeration tank empty. This is the IR line, which we use to recycle all the nitrogen. And this was the guys cleaning the diffusers. So this is probably about knee deep. We just keep them on because you can't see which ones are fouled if there's no water in the tank, and then it makes it easier to clean them. So that should be it, unless you guys have any questions.
This is kind of unrelated here,
Yep.
and I know I asked you about this before, but I heard in the news that, in New York City,
Yep.
they can actually pick up polio in wastewater.
Yep. Is it possible?
Huh?
It's possible. They were doing the same studies. I think Hartford is doing it with COVID in the beginning too. You can do it. It's just expensive to do it. So with like COVID-19, we had looked at it here just out of curiosity in the beginning. Something like 14,000 a week. So you can do it. It's just the tracking and the testing is expensive. I don't know what the polio costs were, but I've heard of that as well. So I know you can do it.
Wow.
It's just how much you want to spend doing it.
Yeah.
Any other municipalities doing it?
I believe Greenwich did because they were so close to New Rochelle when it first had the outbreak. Hartford did it for a little bit, and I only know because the assistant super here, his wife works in the lab in Hartford, and she said it got so expensive with them that they stopped doing it as well. But in the beginning, it was interesting because they were actually tracking it through the pump stations, so they could see what part of the town had an outbreak like a week before it actually hit. So it works, but it's not cheap.
And do you believe in the COVID testing too? That you think that can be really detected?
Yeah, they were doing it. Like I said, I saw the study they did in Greenwich, and it correlated. If you look at the CDC data where they had the outbreaks, if that was trusted as well, it correlated with that, but it was always a couple days before because you'd have it in the wastewater before you actually saw it in the actual testing of the people. So it was close. And I know it worked in Hartford as well, but again, it's how often you do it, how much you want to spend doing it. So it can add up quickly.
Then listing of property for the permits dated June, July, and August.
Yep, so there's a couple here. Most of these were just sewer fees, I believe, building permits. They've all been paid. The only ones are moving forward, just repairs of the existing laterals. It's Grassy Hill Road in Farmington, Chase, and I believe those were completed as well. That's it.
Where's Grassy Hill Road? Where's Grassy Hill Road?
Off Middle Road, right next to the health center. The 255 older complex is Grassy Hills on the right side, and I think different name on the left side.
That's why I asked you.
It's actually blocked mid there.
Yeah, you're the only one that would know in the room. No,
So that's it for the lateral report.
Yep.
Okay. And with some of these big developments coming in, I think we'd be able to pick up some connection fees.
There's so many going in, I have to be honest, it's hard to keep track of them because they always get approved and there's more going in.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, then we've got new business, the approval of the 22-23 meeting schedule. It's our typical Wednesdays. Business party, no this meeting. Anybody any questions on that? All right. Unfinished business. Any other business?
Do we have to approve the meeting schedule or just look at it? I couldn't remember.
Certainly, it doesn't hurt.
Okay.
Here, a motion to approve the new calendar meeting for the 2023 calendar year.
Someone.
Second. Second, any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor?
Did you get any complaints that we didn't raise the sewer fee?
No,
No,
no.
not a one.
We get questions how it's so low from Avon though, but that's about it.
Move to town.
That's what we usually say. Doesn't it?
Any other business? Hearing none, do I hear a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Thanks.
Moved in second, any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Motion carried.